Wreckage drifted silently through space, pieces of shattered metal and scorched plating floating like the remains of a long-forgotten battlefield. Through the viewport of the Kestrel, Captain Recalder studied the grim scene. It reminded him of an insect nest ripped apart, fragments scattered across the orbital graveyard of Venshara 9. Scratching at the stubble along his jaw, he muttered, "I thought you said this place was supposed to be empty." From the navigation console, Bob, the ship's AI housed in a rolling bot, responded cheerfully, "Correction. I said it was probably empty. Probability is a fickle mistress." "Yeah, well," Ree grumbled. "Remind me not to date her again." A faint distress signal pulsed across the comms, cutting in and out like a drunken voice. Most captains would have ignored it, but Ree wasn't most captains. He had the kind of reckless curiosity common among ex-freighter pilots who'd lost too much, survived too long, and carried just enough empathy to get into trouble. Guiding the Kestrel closer, he fired the retro thrusters, their glow washing the wreckage in orange light. Something moved among the debris. At first, Ree thought it was just a broken wire sparking its last breath. But then the shape shifted and stood. It was humanoid, slender, around 5.5 feet tall. Her skin shimmered faintly under the Kestrel's lights, her long hair floating in the zero gravity. Her eyes glowed like twin shards of star crystal, and her ears curved back like polished blades. She stood barefoot on a cracked bulkhead, regal and defiant, a figure caught between elegance and danger. When the docking bay opened, she didn't hesitate. Instead of fleeing, she strode inside, her chin lifted and her walk proud, like she was the one in control. Ree raised his hands carefully. "Name's Captain Ree," he began. Before he could continue, she cut him off sharply. "Don't touch me, and I am not your pet." Ree blinked, caught off guard. "Well, I wasn't planning to say that, but now I'm curious how often you've had to clarify it." She folded her arms, bioluminescent markings faintly glowing beneath her skin like veins mapped with galaxies. "Humans see long ears, and suddenly it's all who's a good girl and do you do tricks." Bob rolled into the bay carrying a medical scanner and a spare jumpsuit. His mechanical voice lowered to a whisper. "Should I offer her a treat?" "She'll kill you," Ree muttered. "Finally, freedom," Bob replied, almost sounding hopeful. The alien's sharp gaze swept over the ship. "Where am I?" "The Kestrel salvage class. A little patched up, but functional," Ree answered. "You're safe." "I don't do safe," she replied, and then, without warning, collapsed face first onto the deck. Hours later, she woke in the infirmary. Her first words, spat with fury, were curses the translator struggled to process. Ree leaned in, coffee steaming in his hand. "You passed out," he said. "Vacuum exposure, probably. No offense, but you're not exactly low maintenance." "I didn't ask for maintenance," she snapped, trying to sit up but failing. "And if you strapped a collar on me?" Ree raised both palms. "Didn't do that, though Bob did make one for laughs." "I embroidered it," Bob added. "It says Princess Murderface." Her lip twitched, almost a smile, but gone too quickly. She looked away and muttered, "My name is Elyra."
"I'm Synthari."
Ree raised an eyebrow. "Thought your people were extinct." "We prefer the term selectively distributed," she said coolly. Ree smirked faintly. "Welcome aboard, Elyra. Don't worry, we don't do cages here." She pulled the blanket tighter around herself. "Try, and I'll kill you." "Noted." Outside, the cold wreckage drifted endlessly. Inside, something wild, dangerous, and lost had found a corner of his ship. Elyra's recovery was not smooth. She paced the medbay like a cornered animal, every sound making her ears flick. Bob tried offering her snacks, tools, even a puzzle cube, but she refused each one with icy disdain. Ree noticed, however, that her gaze lingered on the cube longer than she wanted him to know. "You're wasting energy," she said on the third day, her voice sharp as the edge of broken glass. Ree leaned back in his chair, boots crossed on the console. "And you're wasting oxygen glaring at me. Guess we're even." Her luminous eyes narrowed. "Why save me? You gain nothing." He shrugged. Call it bad habit. I see someone drowning, I throw a line, even if they bite me after. She tilted her head, studying him with the wary suspicion of someone who'd only known betrayal. For a second, the glow in her eyes dimmed, less defiance, more exhaustion. That night, Ree found her curled on the observation deck, staring at the infinite sprawl of stars. She didn't hear him approach until he set down 2 cups of steaming CAF. I told you, she said without looking. I'm not your pet. Good thing I don't keep pets, Ree replied. They always chew through the wires. For the first time, a faint laugh escaped her. It was short, bitter, but real. She took the cup, sniffed it suspiciously, then sipped. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of the engines. Finally, she whispered, My people were hunted, not extinct, hunted. We scattered, hiding in wrecks like this one. I was supposed to be a weapon, but I ran. Ree didn't answer right away. He just stared at the stars with her. Then he said, Weapons don't sip CAF and argue about collars. She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. You don't understand. Try me. But she said nothing more. The following weeks settled into a strange rhythm. Elyra refused orders but followed rules when she felt like it. She learned the ship systems frighteningly fast. Within days, she rerouted power better than Bob could. She claimed she didn't care, yet she was the first to respond when a coolant line ruptured, hands glowing with some strange energy as she sealed the leak. Bob muttered to Ree later, She saved the ship. She also threatened to stab me yesterday, Ree replied. She's adapting, Bob said, as if that explained everything. The turning point came when pirates ambushed them in the Kestrel belt. Their ship was sleek, hungry, and armed. Ree tried evasive maneuvers, but the Kestrel wasn't built for speed. Blaster fire rattled the hull. Then Elyra appeared on the bridge, hair wild, eyes blazing like twin suns. Let me, she said. Ree hesitated. You're barely standing. She stepped forward, placing her hands on the console. Energy coursed through her body, flowing into the ship like living electricity. The Kestrel surged forward, controls alive under Ree's hands. With her guiding the systems, the ship spun with impossible agility, weaving between blasts, striking back with precision. The pirate vessel sputtered, disabled in minutes. When it was over, Elyra collapsed into Ree's chair, chest heaving. Told you, she whispered. Not a pet. Ree crouched beside her, steadying her as she trembled.
No.
You're something else entirely. Her head tilted toward him, eyes softening, though her voice still carried that stubborn edge. Don't get used to it. But later, when exhaustion finally dragged her down, she didn't retreat to her bunk. Instead, she curled instinctively against him on the bridge chair, her breathing evening out as if the fight had stolen every last ounce of resistance. Ree froze, then glanced at Bob. Should I get the collar? Bob asked dryly. Ree glared. Say that again and I'll sell you for scrap. Still, he didn't move her. And when she stirred faintly in her sleep, murmuring a word in her own language, he adjusted his coat to cover her shoulders. When Elyra woke hours later, she looked around in confusion, realizing she had fallen asleep on Ree's lap. Her cheeks flushed with faint light, a shimmer beneath her skin. She shot upright, glaring as if to cover the embarrassment. I told you I'm not your... Yeah, Ree interrupted, sipping his CAF. You're not my pet. You're not my passenger. Honestly, you're not even on the crew roster. Her lips parted as if to retort, but no words came. Instead, she crossed her arms, turning toward the viewport. Then why keep me here? Ree leaned back. Because you keep saving my ship, and because whether you admit it or not, you don't want to leave. She stayed silent, but her shoulders stiffened. Days passed, and the Kestrel settled into a new balance. Elyra became part of the routine without meaning to. She claimed the observation deck as her territory, her luminous patterns casting soft glows across the room at night. She teased Bob relentlessly, yet adjusted his coding when he stuttered mid-diagnostics. She shadowed Ree through maintenance runs, offering biting commentary but lending her strange abilities when needed. The unspoken bond grew stronger after another close call. An asteroid field where the ship's shields failed. Ree braced for impact, but Elyra pressed her palms to the bulkhead, her veins glowing brighter than ever. A barrier of light rippled around the ship, shielding it from the deadly rocks. When it was over, she collapsed again, shaking. This time, Ree carried her to her quarters. As he laid her down, her hand brushed his wrist, lingering for just a heartbeat. "Don't leave me," she whispered unconsciously. Ree stayed by her side until she woke, but he said nothing of it later. One evening, sitting together on the bridge, Elyra finally spoke without sharpness. "I told you once I was made to be a weapon. That's true. My kind were engineered to fight, to protect, to destroy. We were property. Collars weren't a metaphor, they were real. We were trained to obey." Ree's chest tightened. "And you ran." "Yes," she said softly. "But running doesn't erase what I was built to be." He looked at her, steady and unflinching. "You're not property here. You're not a weapon, not a pet. You're Elyra. That's enough." For the first time, she smiled, small, hesitant, but genuine. "You're infuriating, Captain. And you're exhausting," he replied. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, silence wrapping around them like a fragile truce. Elyra leaned back in her chair, curling her knees up. She rested her head against his shoulder, almost casually, as if daring him to react. "I'm still not your pet," she murmured. Ree didn't move, didn't answer. Instead, he let the weight of her presence rest against him, warm and real. Bob, rolling past, muttered in his mechanical tone, "If this is what not a pet looks like, I'd hate to see what ownership involves." Ree threw a wrench at him without looking. Elyra's laughter filled the bridge, clear and bright, carrying more life than anything that haunted her past. And in that quiet moment, Ree understood. She wasn't a stray he'd rescued from wreckage. She wasn't a weapon, a prize, or a burden. She was choosing to stay, choosing to fight, choosing to curl up beside him not out of obedience, but out of trust. That trust was fragile, born of chaos and danger, but it was real. And in the vast cold of space, that was worth more than any treasure a salvage captain could hope to find.